Welcome to the Connection Lab podcast. I'm your host, Alex Thomas, and I'm here to help you on your journey to confidence, authentic connection, and a deeply fulfilling life. All right, let's jump into it. How you doing, bro?
Thanks so much, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And just for some context for the audience, I've worked with Justin. He was my coach for a bit. What drew me to Justin was, he talked a lot about being authentic. And he used, Tantra was something I really knew nothing about, but, Justin uses Tantra in a way to help people to connect with themselves and connect to their most authentic self. And that's really what drew me to want to work with him. And yeah, that's why I invited him on the podcast. So thanks for joining, Justin. And yeah, we'll jump right into it. One question I love to ask in the beginning is, Justin, at this stage in your life, what is your life's purpose? Why are you here?
I would say my life's purpose is to help people liberate themselves from the shackles and conditioning and indoctrination of the things that happen in this world to us. So for me, it's all about freedom. And I've found that the place where most people are repressed comes in their sexuality, their intimacy, relationships, dating, and connection to self. So if I could help people free themselves in that area, I feel like that has this butterfly effect in every single other area, whether it's their job or their relationship or parenting. And that is what will end up bringing world peace.
Wow, beautiful. So you use helping people to free sexually because that has such a deep, why is freeing someone sexually going to help them with other parts of their life?
Yeah, so I got into Tantra, and I for a while I just called myself a tantric practitioner, and then I realized it's so much more than that what I'm doing. So I started to call myself a sexual freedom coach. And it's funny because people don't think that you need a coach to free yourself sexually, yet there's so much focus on all these problems that we have and symptoms of not being sexually free. So in the end, sexual energy is the source of everything, right? Our sexual energy is what creates not only orgasms, but babies. And a lot of us don't think about that is actually creating life, that is creating consciousness, that's creating limitless possibilities. So if that channel is clear and open and you're empowered in your sexuality, not only will you have a more pleasurable life, better relationships, etc., but you're going to be able to birth more things in this world that you truly want from an authentic place, not just children, but actually manifesting with your sexual energy and creating this beautiful flow that you can live in when you're liberated.
Wow, beautiful. So you help people free them sexually. And once they free them, they have this resource of this, powerful sexual energy, which is the source of everything. So what does someone's life look like? So that's what you help them with. What does someone's life look like before, when they are not free sexually? What are kind of the symptoms of that person?
A lot of people will feel numb in the body, especially women. The body will shut down if you're not liberated sexually. Oftentimes this happens due to trauma or indoctrination or people repressing your sexuality or you doing it yourself. So that's one way, an avoidance of intimacy. So people will deep down really desire intimacy. They'll want to go on that date with that person. They'll want to have connections. They'll want to have sexual interactions, but they can't. And this energy almost stops them from having it because of all the limiting beliefs that are either in their head or also in the body. So we have to look at the fact that, the body is going to hold on to different types of trauma and different events in your life. And if you don't heal those, which is one of the ways you become sexually liberated, you're not going to be able to use that body as this vehicle of sexuality, spirituality, and to create the things you want to create in your life.
Yeah. So they feel numb. They avoid, maybe they want to ask out that person. They feel the sexual energy, but they kind of suppress it. Maybe they feel some shame around it. It's not right for them to feel. And they just, they don't use it. They kind of just suppress this energy. So then what does someone's life look like when they're free, when they're liberated?
I think I'm a good example of that. I literally do whatever I want. I speak my truth. I will gladly tell someone my boundaries as well as my desires. I'm not really fearful of anything in this world. I live truly to follow my bliss and to support others. And in that, traveling and exploring and connecting with as many people as I can, that's what it looks like for me. But I think for everyone, it's different, and there's something to be said about that. I live in Miami. I have an open relationship with an amazing, beautiful partner, and I have a great family, and all these other things that are great factors for me to be able to live the way I want. But not everyone wants that. You could live an extremely free, healed life and be monogamous with one person, and you can have deep intimacy with yourself and not even have a partner, and that could be freedom for you. So to me, it's not to judge what someone else's freedom looks like per se, but it is someone who can just say for sure that they're living in their truth, that they're being authentic, that they're not living in a certain way just to maybe please someone else. And you see this all the time. People are trying to please their parents. People are having kids because their parents are, want to be a grandparent once or twice or forever, because people are trying to live vicariously through you. And I will never change the way that I am or what I'm living for someone else. I really believe this is my one life to do everything that I want to do. And, that comes from really going deep within and saying, like, what is it that I enjoy? What are the things that I want to do? How do I want to spend my time? And also realizing that, we don't know how long we have. So bringing an urgency to it. So I see people that are truly living freely, are living with urgency, and they're just really bringing a lot of joy and fulfillment to whatever they're choosing to do with their time.
Yeah. So basically they're just so tapped into themselves. They feel connected to what is true for them, and they're able to live from that place, not from what society is telling them to do. It's, which is why it's different for each person. One free person will look very different than another free person because they have different desires, different things that they truly want.
Yeah, and it can sometimes be mistaked as selfishness too. Like it can look like selfishness because this person is just doing what they want to do, but you're not doing it and leaving a trail of destruction behind you. You're doing it in a way that is supporting and inspiring others. Like I want people to be lifted up, to be inspired by what I do and how I speak and the things that I write about, and to want to get to that level for themselves, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I think that's a kind of natural progression for people that are, working on themselves, freeing themselves, removing blockages. Is we all want to help others, but we have all these blockages that are keeping us from that. Yeah, well, that's beautiful. Absolutely. It's a beautiful, like, before and after, beautiful place where people would want to get to. And so I know you do a lot of different things, how to help people get there. You do, retreats. You do different like coaching programs and stuff, but just from like a high level, maybe we can get into certain parts of the process after, but just from like a high level, what does the process look like? If someone is kind of trapped, they're not using that sexual energy, they're suppressing it. How do you get them from there to a place where they're free?
So my main body of work is a Tantra massage session. So I offer this, mainly it's to women and to couples. But the reason that I use this method is because I believe it addresses the mind, the body, and the spirit. So if you ask me what's the most impactful thing you do for like a person who wants to go deep with their own stuff, it's this Tantra massage session. And typically someone comes to me because they just know they're disconnected from themselves, and there's some kind of issue going on that's maybe preventing intimacy, pleasure, or freedom in that realm. The process is they fill out an intake form. I really want to know everything about this person from their past. And then we sit down, we do some coaching. I teach them what Tantra is. We get into their boundaries and their desires. So we really get to create safety, which is such an important aspect of any kind of healing. And I teach a breathing exercise. And then we go into this, could be 2 hours after this 1 hour of coaching. That is this tantric massage. And this is an experience that is a somatic experience, and it can be extremely healing. And it involves really welcoming all of you into this experience. So your emotions, your sexuality, every single part of you is welcome. And for a lot of people, it's scary to access all parts of them. And then also to just fully receive. So this is not a give and receive session. This is they just get to receive. And there's so many people in this world who that's difficult for them. And I work with a lot of, single mothers, for example, who constantly, all they're doing is giving, and they don't even have time for themselves. So to be able to be in this vulnerable state, sharing so much about their lives, sharing so much, spiritually and energetically as well, and then physically be in this experience is really powerful. So the reason it's so effective, I believe, again, is addressing the mind, the body, and the spirit. And too many people are just addressing the mind and talking and therapy like that, which has its own process, and it's an extremely important thing. But I believe a lot of people are trapped in their own bodies, and that's where they get to really have this profound experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually met a guy yesterday, this guy Phil. I got connected with him and he does something similar. It's not related to, I mean, he doesn't call himself a Tantra coach or anything. He used to be like an osteopath. He's into psychology, but he does these kind of body works where, I've heard people, they've said just incredible things where they've had like the deepest, profound experiences. Like they just shed off these like huge beliefs off themselves, where he basically talks you through while doing the massage and finds like where those beliefs are kind of in your body and just helps you like let go of it. And it sounds insane. And like I've heard some amazing results. So what are the kind of
Yes.
results you've heard from people that you've given this to?
Yeah. So imagine that, but also addressing the sexuality. So I actually do the full body massage, and it includes, if the client wants to, which most is part of why they come to me for this, is it includes the genitals. So it's a yoni massage. Yoni is Sanskrit for vagina. And, to have a deeply present experience with your yoni, with your vagina, and have someone there who's just there to serve you, to hold this space, to be present, to give different types of touch, and hold you while you might be crying. Really, it's unlike anything else you can have. And alluding to the guy that you were just talking about, yeah, I mean, just getting into the muscle and finding spots in the body, you're releasing and activating parts of the body that may have emotions from childhood, and now they're coming out. Trauma that could be stored. We do something in Tantra massage called de-armoring, and it's finding these spots in the body that are just almost like a knot in your back, but it could be an emotional knot, it could be physical, it could be energetic, and being able to press into those areas with deep presence and breathing and moving this out of the body. I mean, it's like relieving yourself of tons of energy and pain potentially in the body. A great book for your listeners to check out if they have any trauma in the body or just feel like they're stuck is The Body Keeps the Score, which is like the Bible for anyone in the somatics world or anything around trauma in the body. So, it's funny because when I give testimonials or I tell people like, yeah, this is what it's like people tell me in their sessions that they feel fully liberated, they feel free, they feel very clear on their purpose after they have this session. Some tell me it felt like they went through a psychedelic experience. So one thing is everyone has to be fully sober in my sessions. And that's because, Tantra, you're working with your own sexual energy. It's very powerful. You don't need anything else. So I don't allow psychedelics in my Tantra massage sessions. But it's also because these people are flying astral. They're going all over the place. They're having this psychedelic experience without anything on the outside taken into them. So I don't want them to ever be able to say like, oh, well, I had smoked weed before the session, so maybe that's what made me feel all these things and see these truths. No. That was just you. You were fully sober. All you had is some water in you. And that was what you were shown, right? So one thing that's really powerful about these sessions is we set an intention, but they don't come in with all these goals and all these things. And that's what makes Tantra so different, is that we actually just go in with an intention, we let that go, and then we move through the experience, and the truths that are shown to this person are exactly what they needed to hear and see. And I'm not talking to them, I'm not telling them anything. They're just in their body, breathing with the full invitation to move, to shake, to sound out, to share, and to say, stop if you like something, and to more if you do. And all of that leads to this release. And that's the best way to put it. And yes, of course, it could be an orgasmic release in the yoni massage and things like that, but it's so much more. You're in your body sometimes for the first time ever. And in that experience, your body has so much knowledge and understanding of the path you need to go on. And I think the biggest thing is that people feel empowered when they walk away from this session. Like they're ready to take on the world.
Wow. That sounds, so powerful. And the more I'm kind of hearing about other people's experiences in the world, the more I believe this is like, there's something really, really deep in here when you can combine the mind, body, and spirit, because most people, they're probably just working on the mind, right?
In most practices, it's mainly the mind. But I mean, you've heard, or many people probably out there have had a regular massage and they got emotional just from a regular massage with no intention of like healing anything more than maybe, a back spasm or something. So if that's the case, you would unintentionally create some emotions to come up, Imagine doing it in an intentional space where you've shared vulnerably, and you're also accessing the sexual energy, which to me is the most powerful energy in the world. I don't know anything else that's more powerful than energy that can create consciousness, human beings, and limitless possibility.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So you offer these massages in Miami, right? In person?
In Miami, I actually built out a Tantra temple. So I have this
Uh,
beautiful Tantra temple, and it's almost like going into like a sacred Moroccan lounge. Beautiful reds and golds, and I have my artwork from my Egyptian mysticism initiation when I went to Egypt there, and just all these really special sacred items. The idea of that is not just some fancy thing. It's because you really are welcoming the god or goddess within you when you step into this tantric space. And when people walk into this room, their eyes go, "Oh wow." And like they're no longer allowed to hide the fact that they are god or king or queen. Like they get to really access that part of them that they may have been hiding for a long time. So it's something important in Tantra in general is to really set up a sacred space, whether you're going to self-pleasure or what some people call masturbation, and I could talk about the distinction between that at some point, or if you're going to be in union with someone, if you're going to have sex with someone, to really like set up a nice space. Now, obviously, not everyone's going to be able to set up a whole Tantra temple in their home, but
mhm.
with my experience, I created something that wasn't really out there, which is a luxurious 5-star experience for this type of healing that's very accessible to your regular, corporate Joe or Jane. And that was where I came from. I came from the corporate world, and I wanted to help people understand that this isn't just some woo-woo, esoteric, weird stuff that hippies do, but that
Mhm.
there is a lot of really amazing possibilities for anyone, and including that I've done a brain mapping neurofeedback session with someone while they were doing a yoni massage, and the results were tremendous. So there's a science to it as well, and I don't want to pass myself off as any kind of scientist, but there's definitely a state that people reach, and their brain and the wiring in the body changes when you go into this kind of experience.
Wow. Yeah, curious. So what did that brain mapping look like? I'm not really familiar with that.
So I've been doing some of this myself as well. And basically it's like a neurofeedback, and it tells you what the different waves, gamma, theta, beta, all the different waves in your brain, whether
And it's like
they're,
so it's like something attached kind of on your
oh yeah,
head.
it's like a, let's say like a soft kind of cap, and it's got all
Okay.
these little electrodes, and they put them on, and it doesn't hurt or anything, but there's little gel and stuff they put in. And basically it's just reading your brain. And a lot of people have very overactive on certain waves or underactive on certain waves. So you get to kind of see where there might be, potential issues or anxiety, and all of them are kind of traced to different types of, issues in the mind. So, to see when someone was extremely overactive and in certain areas, and then after the session, we did a brain mapping right after, and everything calmed down. Was it a relief in anxiety? Was there, is this something that could help with depression? There's all these other anecdotal stories I have forever. I wish that, there was real science, scientists out there looking at these kind of things. But unfortunately, this is still something that's out there, right? Who's going to bring
Mhm.
people to labs and do yoni massages on them? And even when you do that, it's not really showing the truth, because when you have to put a cap on it, when you have to go into a lab or have doctors or
Yeah,
people around you, it changes
totally.
everything. So I don't know that we'll ever
Totally.
know the true biological, physiological impact. I can just tell you anecdotally, I've done over 1,000 sessions, and the results and the things that people do in their life after that they never thought they could. I mean, even something as simple as someone who was scared to take off their clothes in front of anyone for their whole life, now they're going to the nude beach. And like they're
Hmm.
sending me pictures from the nude beach being like, "This is because of you. I feel so free." And it's amazing. Or people are actually having orgasms for the first time in their life. There's so many people, a lot of women don't think that they can ejaculate, or female ejaculation, or squirting, which I hate to say that word, but that's what it's called a lot. They don't believe they can do that. And then they have a session where they're actually feeling safe. There's a professional there with them, and they actually can do some techniques and breathing and everything to have them feel that experience that comes through. And again, it's not a goal, but it seems to happen a lot. Why? Because this person who thought they didn't have all these abilities were now just taught about their limitless potential, their power, how incredible their body is, how they get to accept all aspects of themselves. And now the body is responding and it's going, finally, we're going to let go. We're going to release all of this stuff that you've been holding on to. And man, does it feel good.
Wow. Yeah. That's sounds just so deep. I mean, you're getting people to like really change from like their core and feel free. I mean, that's incredible. And you mentioned this, you do a lot this for women. So do you also do the massage for men?
I've done some for men. My specialty really though is working with women, and that's what I've done my whole life. I also do couple sessions. So, a lot of men want to learn how to do this, and I basically will do a session in their presence, or I do sessions where I literally teach them and talk to them about it while we're working on the woman. But I customize every single session I do to the individual based on what they need. And I have other types of sessions that are outside the realm of, typical Tantra and typical Tantra massages, which are more about, fantasy fulfillment. I want people to feel free to speak their truth around their turn-ons and their fantasies and being able to explore what that would look like. So a lot of it's really about communication and expression about intimate things. So many people are hiding or repressing their turn-ons. And they're afraid of rejection. They're afraid of what they're saying might be weird. And the problem is that most of the time, the partner who's not telling their other partner what their fantasy is, I find out that both of them have the same fantasy, yet they were living in the same house, not sharing this stuff. And they were going to live this life that was going to be feeling resentful and holding back, when all they had to do was just say it and have that bravery to and courage to step into their truth. And this is what it's all about. That's sexual freedom. Being able to tell my partner, I'm turned on by whatever, and be okay with the fact that they might be like, oh, that's weird or whatever. To me, it's all an exercise in weeding out people or seeing who's your tribe or who's your perfect partner. If someone feels like what I do, this tantric work, and they're going listening to this and going, oh my God, that's so weird, that's crazy, blah, 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 and they're like not into it, that's cool. It's not your time to learn this stuff. And like, I'm not upset about that. I'm not trying to have everyone do Tantra. I think it's one way to create immense healing, and it's really powerful, and it's a really great way to heal through pleasure and to awaken the body and awaken the sexuality within you. If that's not for you, that's cool. But I also know that a lot of people hear this and they're going, oh my God, like this is a real thing. I can do this. Like maybe this is what I've been missing. And more and more people will catch on, because I know what I do is extremely pleasurable. It's extremely fun once you really get into it and get over all the nerves and the, societal conditioning around it.
And I'll leave some time at the end for you to share more about your actual Tantra, these massages, where you do it, all that. But how about for people, maybe for guys or even women that are just listening in, maybe they're in different parts of the world, they might not have access to this massage. What are some other ways they can heal sexually and have this similar sexual freedom?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways that I recommend. I mean, obviously you could work with me and do virtual coaching. So I help people through that, as you know. And, when I teach and coach, it's really about embodiment. That's a big aspect of Tantra. So no matter what, whether you're reading a book, which there's a really good book I always recommend called The Art of Sexual Ecstasy by Margot Anand. And she is like, the godmother of Tantra in the West. I actually learned from Charles Muir, who's kind of like the godfather of Tantra in the West. So, these are people that were studying the old lineages of Tantra, and we're out there working with some of the masters, and now they're in their, I think, 70s or something. And, but they brought it here. They kind of normalized it a bit. And they were running, probably still are running workshops and retreats and things like that and teaching this beautiful work. But her book shows a lot of exercises. And that's what I really like about it, because you got to practice this stuff. So whether you're reading a book, whether you're looking on YouTube videos, whether you get a coach like me, you get to really do the exercises that help you heal. And it's so different, because some people might listen to the next things I'm going to say and be like, oh, I don't need that, whatever. Well, you got to try it. Right. So I recommend some people just meditating, right, and getting used to being in your meditative state or being alone and breathing in presence, right? Other people, it's about intimacy, right? Can you wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and eye gaze with yourself? Or for other people, it's about body image. Can you look in the mirror nude and actually look at your whole body and breathe and take it in and see what parts of you are feeling, shame, or you're not accepting this aspect of you, right? That's what Tantra is about, is self-acceptance. If you can
Mm.
accept your body, if you can accept your sexuality, if you can accept all of your emotions, you're going to live a life that's going to be much more at ease than people that are constantly resisting what is. How do you
Mm.
resist what you are and then expect to have a good life or have your hands free to change that? Right? Like we all
Mm-hmm.
definitely are. I mean, most of us do not think we're like the perfect specimen. I'm not a male model. I don't have the best body in the world, right? But that's okay, because I love and accept myself exactly as I am. And with that, my body will change more when I go to the gym, and it'll be affected less when I eat a pizza, because it's
Mm.
coming with this love and acceptance of myself. So you have to really understand the power of this self-acceptance and this self-love. And that's a lot of what it's about. And it really does start with the individual. So if you're wondering, like, do I need to have a partner to start with Tantra or to learn these types of things? No, like, start with yourself. And a lot of people make that mistake. They're like, I need a partner so that, then I
Mm.
can fill this gap within myself. And that's not what we're doing here. You actually will attract the partner of your dreams by doing these exercises, by breathing, by creating, especially the men out there, create a self-pleasure ritual that is not the same thing you've been doing since you started masturbating. Like
Mm.
I always say this, it's like Tantra. So another definition of Tantra is expansion. And I see that as, playing big in this world, being like your fullest expression, but also realizing that you're limitless. And a lot of places where we don't find ourselves being limitless is in our pleasure, because we masturbate the same exact way all the time. And most men, it's just this, right? That's how they
Mm.
masturbate. And that's how I did it for so long. And it's just like, okay. And then you orgasm, then you move on. Well, what if you actually take it a lot slower, slow things down? If you could just slow things down 300%, you'll be more tantric. And I'm talking individually and with other people. But creating a self-pleasure ritual where you set up a space, where you maybe get some nice oils, you have some nice music on, you set up like a date with yourself. And instead of just touching yourself to reach an orgasm, touch your whole body. See what your body needs. Maybe your body doesn't need genital touch in that moment. Maybe your body actually is craving you to hold your own heart, and some emotions
Mm.
come up. And instead of just I'm going into like pleasure myself in that sense, you're pleasuring yourself in a new way. You're listening to your heart, you're listening to your body, and your body's saying, I needed a really good cry right now. Or maybe I don't need sexual stimulation and I need to actually explore my body and find that, oh, I'm not getting an erection. So why would I go in and my body's telling me I'm not turned on right now and then force it, when
Mm.
instead maybe I need some, tender loving care on my legs, or a different
Mm.
part of the body. So this is a problem that, I think we solve in the Tantra world, not going in with this goal of creating sexuality or orgasm, but going in with pleasuring ourselves and being in a state of, let's see what shows up when I become a vessel for the divine.
Mm. So it seems like it's really just tapping into like what your body is telling you, not like forcing something, not forcing like what you want, just listening and being connected to that.
Exactly. And, and for all the people out there who have a partner who is a penis, it's like, we tend to see someone as not getting, and then the guy gets in his head of like, oh my God, I can't get hard. I need to do something about this. And the doing and the doing and the doing and the performance and this grandiose idea of what needs to happen is actually what gets you into that mess. So if
Mm.
it's yourself, calm down, breathe, relax. Your body's just saying it's not ready right now. And that could be for any multitude of reasons. It doesn't mean the person you're with, you're not attracted to. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. But if you're that partner to that person who's not getting an erection, you need to honor that moment and say, this is their body just saying they're not ready at this moment. So let's slow things down, or let's take a pause. And instead of just trying to jerk it off and make it get hard, maybe you just want to hold it and say you're perfect as you are. Maybe you get some oils, but you're not going to do this like heavy stroking, and instead just gently tickle and hold their
Mm.
heart and start to see maybe if they're not sexually aroused right now, what is it that they maybe do need? And maybe they don't know, but at least you can be an exploration of that with them. And what a beautiful way to heal, and what a deeper connection you can have with someone when that's the kind of energy you're bringing to it.
Yeah. Wow. And you mentioned a few different exercises, and one of them that you actually did with me, or you told me to do when we were working together, was to go and eye gaze with myself, to look at my naked body and just like slowly kind of look at each part. And that was a really, really amazing experience for me. Something I've never really tapped into my body at that level. And I think this would be a really cool exercise that anyone at home, our audience, can try. So can you just if you're going to walk through someone who's listening on how to do that, yeah, how would they do that?
Yeah, I could give you a little extended version because I mean, you also could just, I don't even wear clothes when I wake up. I could just wake up, stand in front of the mirror, do some breathing, whatever. But you really want to make an experience, undress yourself like you would a really hot date, right? So take your clothes off. And if you want to make it a deeper exercise with each article of clothing that you're taking off, feel into the material as if it's something you want to let go of. You really want to let go of this insecurity around the size of your penis, or you want to let go of this idea that no one's going to love you. So you take that article of clothing off and you throw it down, or you let it drop down, or whatever you feel in your body. This is a somatic release. So releasing this idea, this limiting belief away from you. And as you do that, you're shedding these layers, and now you're nude. And this is you. And taking a look at your body, sometimes you don't even look at parts of your body. And I wish I remembered and did this many, many years throughout my life. And I could remember the journey of how my body's changed and what I looked like. And, I'm sure it has a big correlation to how happy I was in my life and how free I was in my life. So as you're looking at your body,
and you look at the mirror while doing this.
Yeah. So you're looking at a mirror, a full length mirror. And, it's always great to start with and come back to the eyes. So even when I'm with clients and I'm standing there with them and they're looking in the mirror in their eyes and I'm talking to them, I'm saying, just look into your own eyes. Do not look at me at all. Almost 90% of the time, they will still do everything they can to not look into their own eyes. They'll look at me and I'm like, no, your own eyes, your own eyes. And it's very uncomfortable. But I look at it like this. I mean, I want to know what my eyes look like. If I close my eyes right now, I know exactly what they look like. I know the exact color. I know what I see. And it brings me to a place of knowing myself, of knowing my truth and knowing who I am and my confidence and my clarity. That comes through. But if you close your eyes and you don't even know what your eyes look like, or you just could constantly see this image of you not looking at yourself, that's something to work on. I want to, at the end of my life, when I close my eyes for that final time, I want to see myself truly. And I think when you practice looking at your eyes in the mirror and gazing and looking into your own soul, there's a lot of value there. And it helps you be able to look into other people's eyes and create eye contact and confidence in just any place. It doesn't have to be intimate. And as you start to look at other parts of your body, of course, the genitals is an area that a lot of people have issues around. How many times have men really looked at their cock, but in a loving way, in a way of sending love to that part of the body and maybe just looking at it soft, not with this idea that it needs to do anything or be anything, but just as another body part that has been, really an amazing body part for most people's lives that brings so much pleasure. And it's this, in Tantra, the penis is called the lingam. And what that means is really wand or shaft of light. So if you're a man and you have a penis that you are using in anything other than bringing light to people, light and healing and love, you got to check that and you got to see, well, how do I bring love and healing to people with this cock of mine? And that is, to me, one of the most tantric things you can do is be this vessel of love with these body parts that, even though society has kind of turned them into these just porn things or, jokes in movies. And also for women out there to yoni gaze. This is a really beautiful tantric exercise to actually, lay down on your back or a comfortable position and get a hand mirror or where you can actually look at your yoni. This is the matrix of life. This is a portal to, consciousness, right? I wrote a post about this once, but it was like, we want to go to all these wonders of the world and see the pyramids and all that. Yet one of the most amazing wonders of the world, if not the most, is right in between a woman's legs. This is where life is created. There's so much mystery there and there's so much beauty. So in the tantric sense, to be able to gaze into this yoni, you will get downloads. You will see things. There will be answers that come to you, but only if you're present and only if you take it seriously. And that's also an exercise I highly recommend for a partner to do. And it's very vulnerable for someone to allow someone to gaze into their yoni and to be in the space of the giver, in the sense of seeing it. There's different exercises you can do there. And I will look into my partner's yoni, for example, and I'll get a vision. And I won't know what it means, but I'll just tell her. It's like, I just saw this house. It's a blue house, and the sun was behind it. And it was a neighborhood, and there was like kids playing. I don't know what that means, but all I know is I trust that looking into this matrix of life, that it meant something and that it was a gift for her. And she may not even know what that means. Or like many times where I've said something, the person was like, oh my God, that's XYZ, or that makes so much sense. That's so powerful for me. And that's part of this being in the mystery and trusting that what you're seeing is not just something silly or stupid. It's not. There's no coincidence in this world. You're not going to be looking in between a woman's legs at her yoni, breathing, being present, being in this deeply sacred experience, and have a vision come to you and it's going to be a joke. It won't be. It's going to be powerful, but you have to have the confidence to receive it and the clarity to receive it, and then being able to share it with that person and have them also receive it with full love.
So you do this, you start with that maybe eye gazing, you look at different parts of your body. You're kind of just sending love and like gratitude, right? For each part of your body, just honoring each part of the body. And how long would someone, do this for, roughly?
It's, to me, I'm not the kind of person who's like, okay, go do this for an hour. And you're like feeling like it's taxing. I want you to do it until you've gotten past the discomfort, right? Because it's uncomfortable to sit there and do something you're not used to do. So move past the discomfort. For some people, that might maybe 2 minutes. For others, it might be 10, 15, 20. For some, it might be a whole hour of them going through an experience. They might break down and cry. There's such powerful things that happen in this. And by the way, this is just like the beginning of just looking. What about touching yourself, holding your heart, holding your yoni, and bringing to mind, the journey that you've been on with this part of you, bringing to mind, your inner child as you hug yourself and you're nude in the mirror, just like thinking about where you've come from and where you are now. There's just so much available in such a, simple exercise that you really need nothing but your body and time.
Mm-hmm. And what are some things people can expect, for audience listening that are thinking about trying this? What are some things that they can expect from doing an exercise like this?
So, I mean, it's advice as well as an expectation is like emotions will probably come up. Especially if you've had any body image issues, or you've been on some kind of journey with your body. I'll give you an example. I had a client who had a baby, and she had a C-section, and she had a C-section scar, and she hated it. And it was just this mark on her body that brought her a lot of pain. And all it took was us looking in that mirror and us breathing together and her really seeing it and her getting emotional and me just saying, what did that scar bring you? And she's like, my baby girl. And I'm like, yeah, that scar brought your child into this earth. Like, that scar can be a reminder of your baby girl, of the love that you have, of the sacrifice that you have for this amazing daughter that you have. And I mean, the tears, the chills, the experience of like, oh my God, you shift your perspective, you shift your life. That goes for your body too. That scar could go from this mark on me to this is the portal of life that my baby needed, because I don't know, either I or her or both of us might have died in the old days if we didn't do C-sections. Wow. So that's the power that can happen if you go deep with this. Now, obviously, it's easier when you're with me and I'm walking you through it because I've seen all this stuff. But for yourself to let yourself feel and go that deep and feel into the emotions of it, because a lot of people will want to repress the emotions and just go, oh, this is stupid, or this is silly, or okay, I'm done. But you got to go to the place where some emotions come up, or you get some insights about yourself. It's a shame that it's this way, but a lot of people will cry due to sadness or a feeling of loss or grief, sometimes just because they haven't looked at their body in this way ever.
Mm.
And it's sad that that's not what we're teaching, people at a young age, to love themselves, to, to honor their body, to really be present to this amazing vessel and vehicle that we have to experience this life.
Mm. So when people are trying this, they really need to really just become aware and, see what comes up, and yeah, just be really curious on what is coming up, and to allow that to come up and not suppress it, not look the other way, to
Yeah,
really
it's
just
about
be
presence, and
aware.
also, like, you know, I don't ever want to push anything down. So if you're looking at your body and maybe you're touching yourself and all of a sudden you just feel this deep arousal and you're turned on and you're like, damn, I'm sexy and I'm fucking hot and ooh, and you want to start touching yourself and turn it into a self-pleasure ritual, great. That's super tantric. To go into an experience of just like looking at your body and then without planning it turning into this orgasmic, beautiful union with self.
Awesome. Yeah. And again, to the audience, I have tried this exercise before. Justin had guided me with it, or, he told me how to do it pretty much just the way you just explained now. So definitely highly recommend anyone who's curious about Tantra, or, curious about these things, definitely try it. It would be a really insightful experience at the very least. Cool. I want to shift the
Like,
conversation a little bit. This is maybe a question we could have even started with, but a lot of people are confused what Tantra is. A lot of people, they immediately just think Tantra means sex, and all Tantra is about sex. And I always hear, different kind of definitions of what Tantra is. And, I think that's why there's so much confusion of what Tantra is. So in your own words, what is Tantra?
yeah, so let me just first explain why there's so much confusion. So Tantra is
Yep.
like a 3,000-year-old Sanskrit word and tradition, and this word has multiple definitions, as many Sanskrit words do. So Tantra in that sense means expansion. It also means weaving. And I've heard other Tantra teachers say a myriad of other definitions. It means a system or a doctrine. So what I teach is more neo-Tantra, or this is more westernized Tantra. And what I did with it is I learned all the different things I could learn, and I distilled it down into, again, something I think is accessible for everybody else. So everyone's definition may be different. If you want to come the closest to what Tantra is, it's about love. That's it. If you want to just say Tantra's love, no one would be like, no, you're wrong. How I define it for people so they could actually walk away and tell people what it is self-love, self-acceptance, connection, and presence. And when you
Mm,
think about those things, if you have self-love, if you accept love in and you give love freely and you do things in your life that serve you, that's kind of my self-love definition. That's a part of it. The other really big part is self-acceptance, as I mentioned, accepting your body, your emotions, your sexuality. That's a huge part of it. And it's also about being present, right? Truly being in this moment and being able to hold space for yourself, hold space for others, to be there for people, and to also like take up space, to really be in this moment, but be in this moment authentically and big. And then connection, how connected can you be to yourself? Can you be to others, to your partner? And I also add in being connected to this earth. Can you really enjoy this incredible world that we live in and be in nature and feel your feet in the grass and feel the energy of this grounding ability that we have? And smell the roses and flowers as we walk by them, or do we just pass them by and move on to the next task? So self-love, self-acceptance, connection, and presence, that's Tantra. You're right. A lot of people think it's just about sex. And the reason is because it's really, like, to me, the only teaching I've ever learned of that fully accepts our sexuality.
mm,
Every other religion has some issue with sexuality. Don't do this, don't have
mm,
sex till you're married, don't masturbate, all these other things. So some people in the Tantra world get upset because maybe only 10% or less is really about sex. Of the true, like, older, I don't even know how much of the old lineages of Tantra is really about sex, but it's really like, it's yoga, it's meditation, it's breath work, it's energy work. It is a way of life that is in a way very pure, as being in this human experience and just owning this human experience. The westernized side, and I think this is really important, is emphasizing a bit more about sexuality and intimacy and all of that. And I think it is rightfully so. The people that want to study what we call white tantra, which is more the journey within, and that's the yoga, the breath work, the energy work, there's so much of that everywhere. It's so available. But the
mm,
side that is about sex, that is about intimacy, that is about healing in that realm isn't so readily available. In fact, we have a lot of other sexual things going on that's kind of teaching us not the most tantric sides of sexuality, whether it's, how porn is portraying things, or social media, or the media in general, and religion coming in and shaming sexuality in various different ways. So we need to stand up and say, yes, Tantra is about other things as well, but the people and the things that are about sex and teaching about sex and sex education is really important. So yes, realize that Tantra is not just about sex, but if you want to learn about sexuality in a free and authentic way and heal from some of this indoctrination we've received from so many different places, whether it's parents or grandparents or religion or governments, this is a great place to go. And I teach all kinds of things outside of Tantra, including, open relationships, E&M stuff. I teach about kink and BDSM, really anything that allows you to open up and be free sexually. But man, I love that Tantra does include sexuality, no matter what extent that people say it does.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like Tantra is really about connecting with yourself, and sexuality is a big part of that, right? It's something, and especially most people in most cultures, most religions, they suppress that. So by tapping into that, freeing yourself sexually is going to make such a big transformation, which sounds like it's why you focus on that part so much, because it has such a deep impact on people.
Yeah, I mean, just think about the United States is generally pretty free. At least most places, major cities, you're not really too sexually repressed. But I mean, there's still so much demand for this. There's so many people that need it, and so many that still aren't even nearly ready for it. So they're not even touching it. Now imagine the whole rest of the world. I mean, there's so many other countries that are so repressed. I mean, it's crazy. Like, just the naked body is like offensive to people. So thankfully, I mean, there's only so many places I can teach this and I can be. Thankfully, I'm here in the US where it is okay to teach this generally. And there's still problems with that. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go do this in Indonesia. You can't even be naked on the beach there. So, you have to really be, and that's something that I get a lot of actually people from India who clearly that's where Tantra came from. And they feel so repressed over there. When are you coming to India to teach your Tantra massage course? And I'm like, I'm not going to go there and teach that right now. I mean, it is like not a good place to be right now to be teaching that. And I don't know what happened over the years for it to lose it and to be in this kind of state that I won't say the whole country, but a lot of that country is where the culture is off from what Tantra teaches. But yeah, I mean, that's just much worse than that too. So I want people to take this, what they're learning here and what they learn with themselves, and teach it to their kids and at the appropriate ages, and teach it to people around the world who don't have access to this kind of experience. But it's really needed.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I just came from India. I was there for about 6 months, and yeah, I mean, I can see it everywhere, especially with, I mean, guys and women. It was just, talking about sex was just so taboo. People would whisper when they just say the word sex. There was just so much stigma, so much stigma around it. And it's like a wrong thing to do, to think about sex or have these desires, or not exactly sure, honestly, how that even came about. But hopefully it will change.
Yeah, I hope it changes. But the problem is there's a big gap there, right? It's like, yes, we're not going to talk about it, but everyone's horny. Everyone in India wants to have this freedom of sexuality.
It. Yeah,
they want it so badly, to the point that there's a lot of rape and a lot of major problems going on there, where women aren't honored at all in the way that they should be, but yet it's shameful to talk about it. Right. This is where we need to make a shift. And this is where like expressing ourselves is so important and so powerful. And that's been something I've loved to see over the past couple decades, which is women expressing themselves and being supported in their yeses and nos, and making it a cultural change. This whole sex positivity thing that's running through the US and the rest of the world is so important. And it really needs to correct the way that things were, which was not okay, and not having people feel safe. And if you don't feel safe, you cannot, it's like the hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You can't feel self-actualization and freedom and sexuality if you don't feel your body is safe. And that's what was going on for many, many years.
Yeah, totally. And one thing you mentioned about going into shame, and I think for women especially, shame is even more of a thing, more of a kind of societal kind of pressure, around sex. What would you say to women that are maybe listening to this on how to remove some of that shame?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to say not being a woman, but I will say that I could clearly see what's going on, and I have so many allies that are sex educators, and really a lot of what they're teaching is embodiment. It's really about coming into your body, which unfortunately a lot of people have left in certain senses. The body was kind of weaponized in certain ways, whether it was like people saying like, "Oh, she deserved it big because she was wearing that short skirt," and those kind of things where you start to like, and like this lack of safety was a huge problem, both their physical safety, but also this shaming and bullying around someone being sexually free. So there's so many issues that have to come up, but they're all individual. In the end, it's about how do I create safety in my body, and be able to again move any of the trauma or any of the things that are holding them back out of the body. And like I say, I think doing your own personal work, doing your own embodiment work, dancing, moving, yoga,
Mm,
my partner Jacqueline does all of these things. She also does shibari, so she ties
mm,
people and
yeah.
then does somatic experiences with them while they're tied, which is extremely emotional and a really powerful healing modality as well. So everyone's got to find their own way of healing. And from that, I urge everyone to express themselves. And really, like, I love seeing what's going on Instagram and social media, where it's just a lot of women are just, they're fully empowered and they're letting the world know that they're not going to take any of that old bullshit anymore.
Hmm. So a big part is really kind of tapping into their body and just, yeah, seeing what's coming up. I think I cut off for a
Sorry, you cut
second.
out there. What did you?
Yeah. So I think you were saying one major thing that women could do to release some of this shame is really just doing it through the body by feeling what's coming up and just, yeah, kind of seeing it for what it is, not having some shame over their actual experiences in their body.
Yeah, I think yeah, some of the things I was saying, around yoga and meditation or dance, and just letting the body feel free in whatever ways it needs to, as well as how does it feel when it's constricted. And also something that my partner does all the time, and she's very embodied, is journaling. Really
Mm.
writing out how you're feeling, why you're feeling these things, what comes up for you, what parts of the body do you feel tightness in when you think of something or feel into certain experiences. So there's so much to experience on your own. And then, of course, there's so many different practitioners and people that you can go to get support. So really, it's about researching all that, doing the things on your own you can. And then when you do need support from someone else or community, oh, I highly recommend going to like sister circles, going to women's groups, women's circles. Really, really powerful. And same thing for men, we get to come back to the old days where we take the medicine from our brothers and from our sisters, and we get to learn about that we're not alone, that
Hmm.
I'm having the same issue that my brother is, but we've kind of went away from that in so many ways. So yeah, those are the different ways I'd say to step back into the power, into the healing, and really own your authenticity.
Gotcha. And another quick topic I want to talk about. You mentioned porn, and it's kind of like a controversial topic now. Like a lot of guys are saying, like porn is the worst thing you can do. Watching porn is terrible for you. All these things. What are your thoughts on watching porn?
I mean, I'm not anti-porn. I'm not anti-porn industries. I'm all pro sex workers. I am pro people expressing themselves in that kind of way. I think that if you're using porn as a learning vehicle of how to be with people, and most porn happens to be not tantric in any way, it's very it's performative, it is fast, it is with some goal of creating an orgasm or whatever it may be. So it's not a good way for people to learn. However, if once in a while you want to watch some porn and be turned on by that, I'm not going to say don't do that. I'll check out some porn once in a blue moon, but I'm not addicted to it. I'm not needing it. It's like
Mm,
a snack in the cupboard every once in a while, but also know what you're watching and why you're watching it. One of my favorite expressions is where there's horniness, there's healing. So if you're going to look at porn, notice what you're looking at and why. If you're just unconsciously looking at porn, yes, it's dangerous,
mm,
especially most types of people are looking at. There's more conscious porn. Erica Lust is someone who has some really beautiful movies that is, women produced and shows really hot, more realistic bodies, sex positivity in porn. And it's not boring. It's not, not it's hot, it's really beautiful stuff. And there's other people out there that are starting to turn porn into something that can be a learning experience, that could be beautiful, that could be really hot. Not that there isn't others out there in the real porn industry, I guess, but you want to make sure that what you're doing it consciously in the end.
So if you're just using it as a way to distract yourself, it's kind of just like a pattern. Maybe some people, they feel bad, so they just go to porn just to kind of distract themselves and numb themselves. Then it becomes a problem. But if you're doing it consciously, there actually can be there's benefits.
Yeah, I think there's some benefits to it. I will also say this, it's not even just porn, it's also masturbation. I know a lot of people that are addicted to masturbation, and whether they look at porn or not, it's like, well, yeah, you're going to distract yourself because you want a dopamine hit. You want to go reward yourself. And why are you really doing it? What are you masking?
Right.
So, I can't tell you the amount of times per week or whatever that makes sense, but I think everybody knows when, their orgasm has them or they're having their orgasm. And I think that's really important. Like, I own my orgasm. I am empowering myself with this, not, oh shit, I'm addicted to this pleasurable feeling and all the different, endorphins and serotonin releases and things that I have during it.
Yeah. And I think one thing you mentioned before is, if you're not even horny, like it doesn't make sense to do it. I remember in the past, when I used to masturbate a lot, like a lot of times I wasn't even horny. My dick was completely soft and not horny, but I'll masturbate just out of like a kind of a reaction and a habit. It was really more of like a numbing thing. So I guess, yeah, you really need to do it consciously and really kind of tap into your body.
Yeah. And again, like it's if you're a conscious person, if you're doing something that isn't really serving you, or if you're doing something that is, it is uplifting for you. Something else to talk about around masturbation is vibrators. A lot of women, almost every woman that my clients, they fill out an intake form, and I ask them about that. And so many of them are just reliant on a vibrator to have an orgasm. And this is desensitizing the clit in a lot of cases. It is also having them have issues having orgasms with a partner, because no partner can really replicate a vibrator. So, and do they stop it? Probably not. And so there's an addiction there for a lot of people. And I'm not saying never use a vibrator, but I'm just saying you have to know, just like with porn or just like with masturbation addiction, you have to know where and when it's becoming unhealthy or it's affecting a relationship or a lovership, and and when it's just like a nice treat.
So like, don't be owned by it, don't need it, use it consciously, use it for the experience in a conscious way.
In the end, Tantra and everything I teach is about empowerment. And if you have something that you're addicted to and it has power over you, that's a great place to look to start doing exercises and getting support.
Right. Awesome. One last topic I want to get into is, I know in Tantra and you also talk about masculine and feminine energy. And I think a lot of people don't really know what that is. They assume masculine just means being a man, feminine is just being a woman. So yeah, what is masculine and feminine energy?
Yeah, so I mean, we all have masculine and feminine energy within us. And I think that's really important to notice. If you don't know that, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not feminine. And it's like, well, you want to be, right? It's part of that weaving together that I talked about as a definition of Tantra, is to bring these masculine and feminine aspects of you together. So while it's really easy to look at it when you look at masculine and you look at a penis, the penis is penetrative, it's proactive, it's projecting. So it is out there and it is like in this doingness, right? It's trying its best to get from point A to point B. That's the masculine energy within all of us. It's this structure that allows us to move forward in various different ways. It's also defined as witness. Okay. So on the feminine side, it is more receptive. It's intuitive. It's the creative. It's this nurturing. And that is what the masculine gets to witness. Like, I just look at my very feminine partner and me as the masculine. And when she comes to me with emotions or comes to me with questions and things, sometimes I just get to be there and breathe with her and not have to give her an answer and not have to figure things out for her. She wants to be witnessed. She wants to be heard. And that is something really powerful for you to understand about the masculine and feminine. Also, the masculine and feminine, you really require polarity in a relationship for there to be attraction, and especially sexual attraction. So even if it's a gay couple and they're both men, one of them is typically going to be more in the feminine side of things, the other being the masculine. And when there's that nice polarity, that can create a lot of magic in various senses. But back to kind of the example of my partner, one of the most amazing things that I've ever learned and used is when she comes to me in her feminine, and I know it's not the time for me to start picking apart what she's saying and analyzing it and giving her answers and all that. I just say these three words, but I guess it's four. How can I support you? And it's so simple. It seems like, oh, really? Like, you have no idea how badly the feminine just wants to hear that. How can I support you? And they may just say, honestly, you just did. Or they may say, can you just listen? Or they may say, I really need you to hold me right now. And instead of the masculine tendency to try to figure it all out and to try to just like try all these things, and then they get frustrated and then they're like, you don't even listen to me. You have this opportunity to just be there and be like, I hear you. And how can I best support you? And that is, will solve so many issues in relationships if you can remember to say that.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I think the masculine is always trying to be so logical, problem solving, where a lot of times the feminine just needs to be heard, needs your presence. Yeah.
Yeah, and
And what is,
go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
There's we call it like the healed or the unhealed, or the healthy or the toxic, which we try not to say anymore, because there's aspects of both the feminine and the masculine that can be really powerful and uplifting, and like the masculine side of us can be in leadership, but it also could be like a predator, right? So there's these shadows and these light sides of it. So not only to understand masculine and feminine, but to understand when the masculine and feminine are in its highest self, its highest version, and try to be in that. One of the sides of the feminine that would be more in the unhealed side of things would be like gossip, right? Why is there all this gossip in the workplace or in high school? It's this immature version of the feminine that wants to compare and judge and do all these things to lift themselves up by bringing other people down. Whereas the healed feminine would not do that. The healed feminine would be there in their power, nourishing others.
Yeah, that was actually the exact question I was about to ask. I hear the words wounded masculine, wounded feminine a lot. And so also for the masculine, what does a wounded masculine look like, or what does that even mean?
It could be like an abuse of power a lot of times, very controlling, physically abusive. That's where rape and all, that's where war, the collective unhealed or wounded masculine is where war goes. There's not this clarity and confidence and leadership. Instead, that flips into violence and hatred. And if it goes unchecked, it gets to the state of war.
Yeah. So there's like some kind of insecurity that's causing people to feel like they need to control things and have things go their way. And I'm sure there's like many ways, but how does the wounded masculine like come up? Like, how does the masculine get wounded?
Oh, I mean, this is just societal conditioning in 101, right? Like, how many times do we tell the masculine not to feel, not to emote, not to show that they're in pain? So when you stuff this all down and you repress all of this normal human experience and emotion, it ends up erupting. If you don't heal it, or if you don't get to talk about it, if you don't do all the things, a lot of the things that I just told you guys all about, if you don't do all of that, then yeah, it's going to probably come up in some way, shape, or form. And sometimes that violence doesn't necessarily happen to others, but it happens internally. So it's a really, this is why men's health and mental health is there's an epidemic going on. And it's not every community that's getting this kind of knowledge. It's not I
Yeah.
did a men's circle that was it was televised on Univision on Primer Impacto, which is like one of the biggest shows in Latin America. And I had a bunch of Spanish speaking Latin men in the circle. And, these guys were so brave and being vulnerable on TV. And what happened? Like some of them got kudos because everyone back home in all their countries saw it. And then guess what? Some of their buddies were like, "Oh man, why are you doing that gay shit? Why are you on that show? Are you
Mm,
gay?" Like that's the
yeah.
reaction they got. And I'm like, wow, I haven't heard that being used as like a slang or a negative word since I was a kid, right? You used to say
Mm,
things like that, not knowing and unconsciously, but I'm like, these people are still saying this to them and bringing them down when they're actually ascending, when they're actually healing, when they're healing the collective. And thank God that these guys, and the one that told me that story specifically is like, I don't care. No one's going to stop me. And, now he's doing Tantra and he's working on himself even more. That's what we need. We need men to be leaders in that realm to heal the collective that is telling men to honestly be wounded. Like that's what we're teaching men. Be the
yeah.
wounded masculine instead of saying, here, let's be the healed masculine. And also, it's okay to be feminine. It's okay to bring that aspect of you in. But the machismo stuff that goes on in
Yeah.
Latin culture, and there's so many other cultures where this is just, it's just not getting there yet. And it's slowly moving. And thank God there's a lot of sex educators and some of my friends who are teaching this in Spanish in Latin America, and they are making progress.
Yeah, I experienced a lot of it while I was traveling in South America, even in India too. People have this kind of sense of, you don't show your emotions, work hard and you just like suck it up and go through it and you don't talk about it. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is like that's really holding you back. People think that they're being stronger by doing that, but there's really more strength in actually facing that. It takes courage to actually face that. And on the flip side, so that's kind of what a wounded masculine looks like. What's the flip side? What does a healthy masculine look like?
The healthy masculine is, to me, I see it as a very clear confidence, like a groundedness, right? An ability to move through life with this, like, I got this. And not a smoke and mirrors fake side of that. It's about being able to build. And that structure and that energy really can fuel people. But it's really important that the feminine, whether it's a partner and or yourself, of course, brings that wind beneath the wings of the masculine, because it really does work together. And you imagine like a masculine person who is just like going at it all the time, trying to get ahead, success, whatever it may be for them, and not have that feminine to help nurture them, to hold them, to be the space to bring kind of be the muse, if you will. It's a totally different kind of person.
Beautiful. All right, just last question. You mentioned a few books, but if people want to learn more about this world of Tantra, what are your top recommended books you would offer people?
So the one I said was The Art of Margot, and it's my most recommended book. It's just great. It's got all kinds of exercises and drawings, and it's an easy read. I'll give you another one that changed my life, and it's all about authenticity. Um, it's by Krishnamurti, and it is called Think on These Things. And this is one of his books where it's kind of like he's just answering questions from students that he's gotten over the many, many years that he was teaching. But it's
Hmm.
so much of it is about rebelling against the societal conditionings. And like I read it while I had quit my job in the corporate world and I was traveling the world. And I actually kept this copy with me because I was just like, this is everything. And it was so powerful the way that he would just swat away anyone's questioning of why they shouldn't be authentically them, why they shouldn't live their truest life. Like he wouldn't
Hmm.
allow it. So he almost comes off a little harsh in a lot of the way he speaks, but you could tell it comes from a frustration of hearing students that are asking the same questions over and over again. He's just like, stop it. Stop listening to your parents because they want you to be a doctor. You get to like live your own life the way that you want to be. Why don't live with your government Don't live in a place where the government is repressing you in such a way. Do everything you can to get out of that. It's a no bullshit approach to living authentically. So I highly recommend reading that book. I mean, it'll blow your mind. And it's not about Tantra, but to me it is, because it's really all about authenticity and living in your truth.
That's awesome.
There's another book if you like more esoteric Tantra. It's called The Jewel in the Lotus. That one was good if you like that I'm much more like practical, so I prefer the Margot Anand. But if you're looking to get more into like a deeper lineage of the old school kind of Tantra, that's a good one. There was a quote in that one that I really like. It said something like, spirituality and sexuality are two sides of the same coin. And it's so true. People want to separate sexuality and spirituality when really they're not the exact same thing, but they're two sides of the same coin. So if we actually can integrate our sexuality and spirituality and see this as like sexuality can be a pathway to enlightenment, rather than, oh, this is that thing that you only do with your husband and when you're, married only. And by the way, don't masturbate or you'll go blind. I mean, like, this is the stuff that's separating us from our power. Like, I don't know if this is what happened, but if religion wanted to cut us off from our power and make us sheep, then they did a good job by separating us from our sexual energy, from our spiritual power. So that's definitely something to consider when you are stepping into this world of Tantra or freedom around sexuality.
Yeah, totally. Any final message you'd give to our audience, for people who are trying to gain more confidence and maybe use Tantra as a way to do that?
Yeah, I think something really important is that you do this for you, right? This is not some cool parlor trick that you go around like, oh, I'll give you a yoni massage, or, oh, like, I'm tantric. If you heard of Tantra and you use it as a way to pick up chicks, first of all, anyone will call your bullshit on that stuff. So don't try it. Go into this and be in a state of exploration with yourself and with a real willingness to realize the power of yourself. You get to realize that you are truly God reincarnated here on earth, that you are creating your own reality. And part of that reality is that you are exactly as you are. So accept it and love yourself and use this knowledge that you're that powerful, and don't let it cut off your sexuality. Don't let it cut off intimacy. So that, and don't wait, right? We do not know how long we have on this earth. And if you're just like, oh yeah, I'll figure out that Tantra thing, or, oh, I'll work on myself down the line, or whatever, trust me, it's so much easier. Step into it today. Get the book, reach out to me on Instagram or follow me on Instagram, Tantra Love Coach. I have all kinds of teachings and stuff really around living an authentic life and living empowered. And of course, a lot about sex, love, relationships, and Tantra. But yeah, don't wait.
Awesome. And you mentioned, so your Instagram is Tantra Love Coach. So I'll leave that in the show notes. Any other services or resources you want to tell their audience about?
Yeah, so my website's tantralovecoach.com. Pretty much everything, my brand is Tantra Love Coach. I have a retreat in Austin, Texas, which is absolutely amazing. If you want to really embody Tantra and learn it with a group, with connecting with really cool, beautiful people, we do a screened and curated retreat. It's on a 44-acre ranch, and we have the whole place to ourselves. So it's clothing optional. We do all kinds of really cool stuff, and it's at your own pace, and it's for beginners all the way up to advanced people. And we invite couples as well as singles. So our one in September is almost sold out. It's the end of September, but we have a few spots for men left. We have an abundance of women. And we have one more couple spot, and then we have another one in March, and we're doing like about 3 a year. So the retreat is definitely something I would say would be an amazing way to learn about this stuff. And then, of course, I do my one-on-one sessions and couple sessions. So if you want to learn about that, feel free to DM me. I do free exploration calls if you want to learn about my services or my coaching. And I will be coming out with a Tantra massage course. So I've already filmed the 2.5 hours, I believe, of a Tantra massage session. So it's with an amazing model who I show all the techniques on, and I talk about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And this is a perfect course for anyone who wants to learn about Tantra massage Great for couples that want to share it together, but also for any individual that really just wants to get more confident in the bedroom and actually understand tantric energy and how we're doing what we're doing and why this isn't just some sensual massage. It is a very deeply healing experience. And so much of what I teach in Tantra massage and what you could experience if you do it with me is a microcosm for the real world.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Justin. I think you gave some like really, for people who are just wanting, on their confidence journey, don't really know about Tantra, you gave a very practical way of, what Tantra is and how people can incorporate it with some exercises and, what life can actually look like when you are sexually free. And I think for anyone listening, that sounds, so exciting to get to that place. And you gave people a path towards that. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Thank you for having me, bro. And thank you for everyone out there listening.
Thank you guys so much for sticking with us till the end of this episode. If you liked the episode, please leave a review on whatever platform you're listening to. It makes a huge, huge help for us. So please do that. We have some amazing people already lined up for the next several podcasts. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.